Thank you very much. Good morning to the strongest one who lived to the 4th day of the festival. Thanks for coming. It's very nice. I'm Kulishenko Alisa, and today we are going to dive in the development of botnets, including with the eyes of the criminals, and we'll speak about aspects which criminals have to take into consideration to successfully launch their attack. As I mentioned previously, I'm Kulishenko Alisa. I work in the Kaspersky lab as an analytic in security services. More than 3 years I'm involved in analytics of darknet, and on the basis of this analytics, we are going to build this presentation. Also, I play safe, and I like interesting researchers. So how do we present botnet? Most of the researchers which are touching botnets, they mean one same scheme. We have criminals. Criminals have under their control a number of infected devices. Depending from the botnet, this can be user devices, mobile phones, computers, anything. And IoT botnets, which are based on smart devices. This could be everything that is connected to internet, like teapots and kettles. And the botnet, these are other way attacks, other user infrastructure which is located in the internet. But nevertheless, most of the research on this topic tackles only general topic of source code analysis, malicious load, and how the top-level botnet is being built from the point of view of organization of the networking component and components of code writing. But let's look how, in the eyes of criminal, we should look how to realize the attack and build this botnet. I've divided it into 4 types: development, creating the malicious code, then creep, special processing, and work with this code to get around the discovery by antivirus solutions. This is also traffic, polluted samples to make users to download them and install them, and monetization, getting benefit from this process and main target of this activity. What is very interesting that in recent years, more and more, we observe the trend that supply in a darknet works as a service format, which means that attackers get united to the full-scale supply chain to create the resulting attack. So the specific attacker has a very limited perception to the attack and has his own objective without even having any understanding of how it's going to look at the end run. That's why we are going to go through the aspects and the links and start from the development and creating the basis of the botnet. There are 3 ways of how this foundation can be created: using some leaked bots, buying or renting ready solutions, or developing from scratch. The first category, using leaked ones, uses something that has been compromised or published by producers. For example, there is a Mirai that was published in 2016, but nevertheless still actively promoted, proliferated, and very popular. These solutions usually are proliferated free of charge or for symbolic price. Usually they are used by beginners because these botnets are very known to security vendors and can be very easily discovered, and principal company knows how to work with them. Next category is buying or renting ready solutions. These solutions are more specific to old attackers who want to monetize their activities. And for this purpose, they buy solutions which are developed as a service format. These solutions can cost from several dozens to several thousands of dollars, depending from specific service and what's going to be on the output. These could be code with menu and fully deployed system, which will provide admin panels. You just have to select the target for attack. And the final category is a turnkey development. It's the category for the smartest and financially provided criminals, because the development starts from $3,000 and can go to eternity, depending from the needs of the buyer. In these botnets and developments, well, the information is not being broadcast. Most of these transactions are happening in the shadow, in the personal messages, and partners usually are protecting their reputation and reputation in the community. So only by indirect signs we can think about those transactions and figure out the conditions on the basis of which they have been conducted. A very interesting one is the fact that even attackers more and more often started showing themselves as a service format. And in many announcements, we directly see that I will do this in the other service format. Our service will do incredible things that will help you 100%, in fact, everybody in this world. And the malicious code is offered to be developed as a service. What is interesting here is that due to the fact that darknet mostly doesn't have Wikipedia, they are learning from their colleagues what is to be done with specific botnet, how much it costs, etc. So we can also be based on such discussions where they discuss how much something costs, how to get it, what are pros and cons on different things, etc., etc. Also, what is interesting is that a popular one is reuse of different developments and their future use to add new modules. For example, Mirai that I was mentioning, also used right now by some additional add-ons. The next point is so-called crypt, the way of getting around being discovered. Crypt can look differently depending on the system that is being targeted by a criminal, depending on the law that is going to be hidden from it, and depending from what they want to get as the output. But it's the same scheme. You take malicious code, it's given to the crypter, provider of this service, and this code is being obfuscated, processed, and changed to avoid discovery on the basis of patterns and on the basis of partial behavior. After this, we get certain stuff and resulting software product which contains certain code, and here we have some encoded version. I would like to specify that this can change depending on the target. For example, if this is IoT device, we can stop on this. If the target is the user botnet, then very often they add a payload by some user application. These can be calculator, lidar, or anything that users will have the desire to download. And this is so-called food undetectable. So if we download this sample on VirusTotal, it is shown as non-malicious, and this status can be held not for a long period of time because as in a security company, they have effective approaches. Two other types of stun time detects before file running some statical patterns, samples of the code, runtime, this is after lunch. I would like to mention that the first one is influenced by the work of the crypter. The second one is the influence by the work of the one who has been developing the malicious payload, and we see direct connection between how it is important that attackers would select proper partners and counter agents, because in principle their work is directly connected and very actively influences on what's going to be the resulting product and how it's going to be successful. Well, most of the service as a service is functioning under three main monetization services, receiving some percentage from the total profit, subscription or rent, or this is one-time payment. The most popular one, which is logical, is a subscription or rent, because it allows to scale who is going to pay how much to the attacker who is providing service, and not specifically deeply will go into the attack when it happens when they work for percentage from the resulting amount. In our service, we see similar messages, and in the recent years, we've been observing a very stable trend, where on a monthly basis, we had approximately 100 messages with the description of the crypto services, which shows the interest to this service, which is logical because it is used everywhere in many places. Well, after getting the sample that was processed to be very successful in devices and go to antivirus protection, then we can go to its proliferation of this software. And then we have traffic that helps us. Traffic is the SMM from a malware, and this is very actual when we speak about user botnets, because on the user botnets, for the proliferation, they use the same methodologies that we can see in the regular SMM, so-called traffic arbitration, creating beautiful landings, doing the campaign in social networks and similar solutions. But we should understand that even though methodology that is being used in legitimate sphere, nevertheless, is not really nice under the hood. One of the most popular methods several years ago, it was so-called traffic for gamers. In this situation, users, attackers have created fake pages which could belong to the beginners, developers. These pages contain offer to download beautiful game that will explode their brain with high requirements of providing them some feedback to the beginner developer. Gamers been downloading this game. This game didn't run because it's a botnet and because games from the beginners didn't launch. It didn't have any suspicion, but their devices were infected. Another type of traffic, but a little bit different type, is when the goal is the IoT botnet. IoT botnet is different because you don't need to have the user, it doesn't have to be lured. The most popular way of proliferation of IoT botnets, many years, usage vulnerabilities, public, 0 days. It depends from financial possibilities and technical capabilities of specific criminal and usage of default passwords. And in recent years, we see that some countries start changing their legislation and password policies in some devices just because of popularity of botnet creation through the exploitation of default passwords on these devices. After all these stages and getting finished product and after proliferating it, there is a question: how can we monetize all of this? Well, from this point of view, let's speak a little bit about monetization. Well, generally, monetization is a very interesting and creative tool. It depends completely for which you have fantasy on the side of the attacker, and methodologies, well, there's a lot of them. Sometimes users don't want to share with them because they are very unique and they also work with their knowledge and skills. However, this can be divided into several categories. The most popular category is the assembly of log files from the infected systems, files which have the compromised crypto wallets, logins, passwords, and any other account information that is being collected by specific software. Also, a popular one is a category of using computing resources of any infected system to have a certain computing activities. This can be mining of cryptocurrency that we've heard recently, also called brute force. For example, we can try to get hashes and from hashes passwords for a certain compromised database, which will compromise the account completely. In addition to that, very often we can see that when botnet grows to a certain specific size, it's being infected by some infection, ransomware, adware, or anything else. For the choice of the attacker, what's going to be the most profitable. The final category is creating service on the base of the botnet and including it into the general connotation of as a service model. This is very often DDoS services or proxy services. The first one is used for activist activities. The second one often used by attackers because due to the illegality of their activities, they cannot legitimately buy the proxy because they can be banned very fast and very effectively. So our department has conducted a campaign on data collection about log files. And we discard more than 10 million log files. One log file can contain several accounts of users. Also about popularity of log files, what speaks about it, that on a dotnet forum you can see several threads dedicated to them, which shows also the fact that starting from January 24, we discovered more than 5,000 messages about this particular topic. In Telegram channels, we discovered more than 500,000 messages. So it can be described that in Telegram channels, it's a common thing to repost the same advertising campaigns to cover a big number of users, in principle with the same services and information. After passing this path, we can create certain discussions about how the botnets are functioning and also can emphasize several interesting topics. For example, the trend so that attackers function the model as a service, put some challenges in front of specialists on cybersecurity due to several reasons. First of all, this model of work is more specialized for every specific criminal in their targets, therefore raising the level of attack. Like if we have 5 people and everybody specializing in his own way, the common product will be more effective. Also, attack is built us to change. And we have a question that if you will replace any link in the chain, the attack can also change. Therefore, it's going to be much more complicated to see typological activity conducted because criminals, well, there's a lot of them, and changing of any link in the chain, it's not a very complicated objective, which very often, especially when counter-agent is not making them happy. It's also very interesting that we can have a parallel between so-called fights and dark IT components. In dark IT component, we see more and more often increasing the popularity of such solutions as SMR as a service, malware as a service, and some other ones. They are shown in use, and more groups are saying that they are functioning this model. In botnet, we also see the popularity infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and other ones. Their popularity was very high many years ago and is not reduced with time. Well, that's all I wanted to tell you. You can subscribe to channel and blog of my team. We publish a lot of interesting information. If you have any questions, you can catch me, and it's going to be much simpler. Thank you very much.